The stars looked different from the observation deck of the horizon's edge. Commander Jake Morrison stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the massive station grow larger on the view screen. The Nexus station was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. It was a city in space, home to millions of beings from across the galaxy. Today, it would host the most important meeting in human history. Jake was a tall man with graying hair at his temples. He had fought in the Mars conflict 15 years ago, back when humanity was still fighting itself. Now he led Earth's first real diplomatic mission to the wider galaxy. His crew was small but hand-picked. Each person on this ship had a specific role to play in the days ahead. Dr. Lisa Grant entered the observation deck, carrying a data tablet. She was a specialist in alien cultures and had spent the last 3 years preparing for this moment. Her brown eyes reflected the lights of the approaching station. The scans are complete. All 5 races have representatives here. This is really happening. Did you expect them not to show? Captain Ryan Burke asked from the doorway. He was younger than Jake, but carried himself like a man who had seen combat. His job was simple: keep everyone alive if things went wrong. I expected them to send lower-level diplomats, Lisa said. But these are their top leaders. The Valorians sent their war prime. The Architect Collective dispatched 3 of their builder minds. This isn't a casual meeting. Jake turned away from the view screen. They're scared. We went from discovering fire to crossing stars in the blink of an eye by their standards. They want to know how, and more importantly, they want to control it. The summons had arrived 3 weeks ago. Earth's growing presence in space had not gone unnoticed. Humanity had established colonies on 17 worlds in just 30 years since discovering faster-than-light travel. The 5 dominant powers of the galaxy had decided it was time to bring the newcomers under control. The docking procedure took 2 hours. The horizon's edge was tiny compared to the ships already moored at the station. Some of the alien vessels were so large they created their own gravity. Others seemed to be made of pure light. One ship appeared to be alive, its hull breathing and shifting like skin. Jake led his team through the docking tube and into the station proper. The gravity felt slightly heavier than Earth normal. The air had a strange taste, recycled through systems designed for a dozen different biology types. The corridor was wide enough to fit a truck, and the ceiling rose 30 feet overhead. Other beings moved through the hallways. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated, crawled, or moved in ways that hurt to watch. A few turned to stare at the human delegation. Most ignored them completely. Their guide was a small robotic sphere that spoke in a pleasant, neutral voice. Welcome to Nexus Station, representatives of Earth. Please follow me to the council chamber. The session will begin in 1 standard hour. The council chamber was a circular room half a mile across. Seating areas ringed the walls, each designed for different body types. At the center was an open floor where speakers could address the assembly. Holographic displays floated overhead, translating speech into hundreds of languages in real time. The 5 dominant races were already present, each occupying their own section of the chamber. Jake had studied them for months, but seeing them in person was different. The Valorians looked like warriors carved from crystal. They stood 8 feet tall, their bodies covered in translucent armor that seemed to grow from their skin. Light refracted through them, casting rainbow patterns on the floor. Their leader, the War Prime, radiated an aura of controlled violence. The Architect Collective appeared as 3 floating masses of silvery material. They had no fixed form, constantly shifting and flowing like liquid metal. Occasionally, faces or hands would emerge from their surface before melting back into the whole. They had built some of the largest structures in the galaxy. The Luminar were the strangest. They existed as clouds of glowing energy contained in crystalline shells. Looking at them too long made Jake's eyes water. They claimed to experience all of time simultaneously, past and future together. Whether that was true or not, their technology seemed like magic. The Keth Empire sent a single representative, but everyone knew it spoke for trillions. The insectoid being stood on 6 legs, its chitinous body covered in biological armor. Its compound eyes reflected the room 1,000 times over. The Keth were a hive mind, every individual connected to every other. The Sovereign Assembly was a coalition of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Their representative was a humanoid figure wrapped in robes that seemed to exist slightly out of phase with reality. Time moved differently around them, speeding up and slowing down in waves. The robotic guide led Jake's team to a small seating area marked with Earth's symbol. As they sat down, the lights in the chamber dimmed. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing Earth floating in space. The war prime of the Valorians stood first. Its voice was like grinding stones. We gather to address the situation of Earth. In 30 of their years, they have spread across 17 star systems. They possess faster than light travel. They have contacted other species. They act without permission or guidance. The builder mind of the architect collective flowed into a vaguely humanoid shape. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. We have observed their construction methods. Crude but effective. They learn quickly, too quickly for a species so young. The Luminar's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. We have seen their possible futures. Many paths lead to chaos. Without proper guidance, they will disrupt the galactic order. The Keth representative clicked its mandibles together. They are individualistic, chaotic. They lack the unity necessary for true civilization. They must be brought into proper structure. The Sovereign Assembly's representative spoke last. Its voice echoed with age. We have watched Earth for many cycles. We have seen their wars, their cruelty, their potential. The time has come for them to choose. Accept guidance from those wiser and older, or face the consequences of isolation. Jake felt the weight of every eye in the chamber turn toward him. This was the moment. He stood slowly, keeping his movements calm and deliberate. Lisa and Ryan remained seated as planned. We appreciate the Council's attention, Jake said clearly. The translation system carried his words throughout the chamber. Earth is honored to be recognized by the great powers of the galaxy. We have much to learn from civilizations far older than our own. The War Prime interrupted. You mistake an order for an invitation. Earth will accept a protectorate status. The only question is which of us will oversee your development. We are giving you a gift, the Architect Collective said. Membership in galactic society. Structure, purpose, all we ask is obedience to those who understand the greater picture. Jake kept his expression neutral. May I ask what happens if we decline this generous offer? The chamber fell silent. The Luminar's energy pattern shifted to an angry red. You do not understand. This is not a negotiation. Then what is it? Jake asked quietly. The War Prime gestured, and the holographic display changed. It showed a small moon orbiting a gas giant. A demonstration. The view screen split. On one side, the moon hung peacefully in space. On the other, a Valorian weapons platform appeared. It was a spike of crystal and metal the size of a city. Energy began to build along its length, glowing brighter and brighter. A single beam of light shot from the platform to the moon. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the moon exploded. Not cracked, not damaged, but completely disintegrated into dust and debris. The entire process took less than 5 seconds. That is one platform, the War Prime said. We have 10,000. This is the might of the Valorians. Any world, any fleet, any resistance can be ended in moments. Lisa's hand tightened on her armrest, but she kept her face calm. Ryan's jaw was clenched, calculating odds that weren't in humanity's favor. Jake nodded slowly. Impressive. We understand the point being made. Then you understand the reality of your situation, the Sovereign Assembly said. Choose a patron race. Accept guidance. Or be divided among all 5 of us by force. You have 7 days to decide. The chamber lights brightened. The session was over. As Jake led his team back to the horizon's edge, he felt the eyes of 5 ancient civilizations watching his every step. They thought they had shown humanity its place in the galaxy. They had no idea what humanity had prepared for this exact moment. Back on the ship, Lisa collapsed into a chair. They're not bluffing. That weapons platform could destroy Earth's entire orbital defense network in minutes. Ryan pulled up tactical displays. All 5 of them could. We can't fight them. Not any one of them, let alone all 5. Jake stood at the view screen again, watching the massive alien ship surrounding the station. Then it's a good thing we're not going to fight them. What are we going to do? Lisa asked. Jake smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. We're going to show them what humanity really is. But first we need to buy some time, and we need to wait for our last team member to arrive. Who? Ryan asked. Colonel Amy Peterson. She's bringing data from Earth Command. Information these 5 powers don't know we have. Jake turned to face his crew. The next 6 days are going to determine humanity's future. The second day began with another summons to the council chamber. Jake had barely slept. He spent the night reviewing reports and preparing his team for what was coming. The 5 races wanted to intimidate humanity into submission. They would show their power until Earth had no choice but to bow. Colonel Amy Peterson had arrived during the night cycle. She was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who carried herself like someone who knew secrets that could start wars. She brought encrypted data from Earth Command, files that couldn't be transmitted over normal channels. Jake hadn't opened them yet. He wanted to see what the 5 races would do first. The council chamber felt different today. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The 5 races had spent the night arguing among themselves about which civilization should claim humanity as their protectorate. Now they wanted to prove why they deserved that honor. The Architect Collective spoke first. Yesterday, the Valorians showed you destructive power. Today, we will show you creative power. True civilization is not measured by what you can destroy, but by what you can build. The holographic display changed to show a nearby star system. It had a yellow sun similar to Earth's, but no planets, just asteroids and debris floating in space. Watch, the builder mind said. 3 massive ships appeared in the display. They were architect vessels, each one larger than Earth's moon. They began to move with impossible grace, spreading out around the star. Streams of silvery material flowed from their hulls, stretching across millions of miles of space. "What are they doing?" Lisa whispered. Dr. Nathan Cross, a physicist who had been studying the alien technologies, leaned forward. "They're building a Dyson ring. It's impossible. The energy requirements alone." But the architects weren't limited by human understanding of physics. The silvery streams connected and began to solidify. More material flowed from the ships, adding layer upon layer. Asteroids were caught in energy fields and pulled apart, their raw materials feeding into the construction. The display showed time compressed. What was really happening over 3 days appeared to take only minutes. The Dyson ring grew around the star, a massive band of material that encircled it completely. Solar panels covered every surface, drinking in the star's energy. Habitation modules appeared, connected by transport tubes. Factories, shipyards, research stations, all built in less than 72 hours. When the display finally stopped, a complete megastructure surrounded the star. It could house billions of beings and generate enough power to run 1,000 civilizations. "This is what the Architect Collective can create," the builder mind announced. "We shape reality itself. We turn empty space into homes, raw materials into wonders. No other race can match our construction abilities. Under our guidance, Earth could join us in building a better galaxy." Jake watched the display fade. The message was clear. The architects could build anything anywhere. They could reshape planets, construct habitats in hours, and command resources on a scale humanity couldn't imagine. Ryan leaned close to Jake. If they wanted to, they could build a weapons platform around Earth before we could stop them. "I know," Jake said quietly. The third day brought the Luminar's demonstration. The energy beings seemed excited, if such creatures could feel excitement. Their crystalline shells glowed brighter than usual. "The architects showed you control over matter," the Luminar's voice echoed. "We will show you control over something far more valuable. Time, consciousness, reality itself." The lights in the chamber dimmed to almost nothing. The Luminar's shells blazed with light. Lisa gasped as her vision blurred. Suddenly, she wasn't in the council chamber anymore. She stood on Earth, but it was different. Cities stretched across continents, gleaming towers reaching for the sky. Ships moved between the stars in vast fleets. Humanity had spread across 1,000 worlds. Peace and prosperity everywhere. Then the vision changed. Earth was burning. War consumed the galaxy. Human ships fought desperate battles against overwhelming odds. Worlds fell. The screaming of billions filled her mind. Another shift. Earth was empty, lifeless. Humanity had destroyed itself before ever reaching the stars. Nothing remained but ruins and regret. The visions continued, each one showing a different future. Some glorious, some terrible, some strange beyond understanding. Lisa saw herself old and wise. She saw herself dead in the void of space. She saw versions of Earth she couldn't comprehend. Then she was back in the council chamber, gasping for air. Everyone else looked equally shaken. The Luminar had shown them all different possible futures. "We exist in all times simultaneously," the Luminar explained. "We see every choice, every consequence, every path. Without guidance, humanity will stumble blindly into futures that lead to suffering. We can show you the correct path. We can guide you to the optimal timeline. Lisa's hands were shaking. The visions had felt completely real. Every future seemed equally possible. How could humanity choose the right path when there were infinite possibilities? Jake noticed her distress. Dr. Grant, are you all right? They showed me futures where we win and futures where we lose, Lisa said. How do we know which path to take? We choose for ourselves, Jake said firmly. That's what makes us human. The fourth day belonged to the Keth Empire. The insectoid representative clicked its mandibles in what might have been amusement. Matter, energy, time, all impressive. But the true foundation of civilization is unity, perfect coordination, absolute efficiency. The display showed a planet covered in thick clouds. Sensors indicated the atmosphere was pure acid. The surface temperature could melt lead. Nothing could survive there. Watch carefully, the Keth said. A single small object fell from orbit. It was a Keth drone, barely larger than a human fist. It hit the acidic clouds and began to fall. The display zoomed in, showing the drone starting to dissolve in the hostile environment. But then it changed. Its outer shell shifted, adapting to the acid. New structures grew from its core. Within minutes, the drone had become resistant to the environment. It landed on the surface and began to dig. Hours passed in the display. The single drone divided into two. Those two became 4. The 4 became 16. The progression continued. Exponential growth driven by biological adaptation. Each generation was slightly different, better suited to the environment. By the end of the first day, there were thousands of drones. By the second day, they had built a basic colony. By the third day, the colony had become a city. Industrial complexes rose from the acidic soil. Energy collectors dotted the landscape. Ships began launching into orbit. All of this from a single drone in just 3 days. This is the power of unity, the Keth explained. Every drone is connected to every other. There is no confusion, no disagreement, no wasted effort. We act as one being with trillions of bodies. We can adapt to any environment, survive any condition, overcome any obstacle. Nathan was furiously taking notes. The adaptation speed is incredible. They're basically evolving in real time. Each generation incorporates improvements from every other unit's experiences. And they all share one mind, Amy said quietly. She had been observing everything, saying little. Perfect control, perfect coordination, no individual ambition or desire. The Keth's compound eyes focused on the human delegation. Your species is fragmented. Individuals pursuing selfish goals. You waste energy on internal conflict. Under our guidance, you could be unified. Every human working toward the same purpose. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The Keth were offering to turn humanity into a hive mind. Individual identity erased, absorbed into a collective consciousness. Efficient, yes, but at the cost of everything that made humans human. The 5th day was reserved for the Sovereign Assembly. Their representative stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by an aura that made reality itself seem flexible. We are old, the Sovereign said, older than any civilization you have encountered. We have seen galaxies rise and fall. We have witnessed the birth and death of stars. And we have learned to manipulate the most powerful force in the universe, time itself. The representative raised one hand. Around them, time began to behave strangely. Jake watched as a floating object moved backward, then forward, then stopped completely. Plants grew from seeds to full bloom and back to seeds again. A glass of water evaporated and reconstituted in seconds. We can slow time to examine events in perfect detail, the Sovereign explained. Time crawled to a standstill, freezing everything except the representative and the watching delegates. We can speed it up to see long-term consequences in moments. Time accelerated wildly, years passing in seconds. And we can, when necessary, manipulate localized temporal fields for strategic purposes. The display showed a fleet of ships attacking a planet. Then time reversed around them. The ships flew backward, their weapons fire returning to their guns. Then time stopped completely. The ships hung frozen while defenders moved normally, destroying them one by one. This is the power of the Sovereign Assembly, the representative said. We do not just see time like the Luminar. We control it. We shape it. No force in the galaxy can stand against us because we can simply unmake their actions before they happen. The demonstration ended. Time returned to normal. Jake felt disoriented, as if reality had been folded and unfolded around him. The conference room aboard the Horizon's Edge was sealed and shielded. No signals could get in or out. Amy had checked twice to make sure. What they were about to discuss couldn't be intercepted by the 5 races. Jake sat at the head of the table. Lisa, Ryan, Nathan, and Amy completed the circle. The encrypted files from Earth Command glowed on the central display. None of them had slept well since the demonstrations ended. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on everyone. Before we open these files, Jake said, I need to tell you something. My assignment to lead this mission wasn't random. Lisa looked up. What do you mean? Earth Command has been preparing for first contact for 80 years. Since we first detected alien radio signals in the 2160s. Everything since then has been designed for this moment. Ryan frowned. That's impossible. We didn't even have faster-than-light travel until 30 years ago. Exactly, Jake said. We didn't have it, but we knew someone out there did. We knew we were behind. So Earth's governments did something smart. They started preparing for the day when we would meet civilizations far more advanced than us. Amy activated the files. The first document appeared on screen. It was dated 2163, marked with the highest security clearances. This is the Galactic Contingency Protocol, written by the first scientists who confirmed alien signals. It outlined one basic principle. When humanity reaches the stars, we will not be the strongest. So we need to be the smartest. Lisa read through the document quickly. Her eyes widened. They predicted all of this. The power imbalance, the risk of subjugation. They even predicted that advanced races would try to control us through demonstrations of superiority. Not just predicted, Nathan said, scrolling through technical files. They prepared for it. Look at this. Our faster-than-light drive wasn't invented. It was designed based on theories about how alien FTL might work. We built it to be compatible with galactic technology standards. Jake nodded. Earth didn't stumble into FTL travel by accident. We reverse-engineered it from signal analysis and theoretical physics. It took us decades, but we knew what we were looking for. The Mars conflict, Ryan said suddenly. It wasn't about resources at all, was it? No, Jake confirmed. It was a test. Could humanity wage effective asymmetric warfare in hostile environments? Could we adapt to fighting in space on hostile worlds with limited resources? The conflict was real, but both sides were secretly working toward the same goal. Building the skills we would need when we encountered aliens who could destroy us with ease. Amy pulled up another file. My intelligence division has been tracking the 5 dominant races for 40 years. We've infiltrated their territory with stealth probes. We've analyzed their technology, their culture, their weaknesses, everything we could learn without being detected. The display showed countless data points. Ship movements, technological specifications, cultural studies, economic analyses. Decades of intelligence work compressed into organized files. The 5 races think they're dealing with primitive newcomers, Amy continued. But we've been studying them longer than they've been watching us. We understand them better than they understand themselves. Lisa pulled up analysis files on each race. The Valorians are incredibly powerful, but their society is rigid. They haven't changed their military tactics in 10,000 years. They rely on overwhelming force because it always works. The Architect Collective can build anything, Nathan added. But they think in terms of construction, not destruction. They've never had to fight a real war. Their conflicts are settled by building competitions. The Luminar see all possible timelines, Lisa continued, but that paralyzes them. They spend so much time analyzing every option that they struggle to make quick decisions. They're powerful but slow to act. The Keith adapt perfectly to any environment, Ryan said, studying tactical data. But they're predictable. The hive mind means every Keth unit responds the same way to the same situation. No improvisation, no individual initiative. And the Sovereign Assembly can manipulate time, Amy finished, but only in small, localized areas. And it takes enormous energy. They use it sparingly because they can't sustain it. Jake let his team process the information. He had known most of this for months preparing for the mission. But seeing it all laid out made the situation clear. The 5 races were incredibly powerful, but they weren't invincible. There's more, Jake said. He pulled up his own service record. I was selected for this mission because I've never lost a tactical engagement. Not once in 15 years of military service. You know why? Because you're a good commander? Lisa guessed. No. Because I specialize in asymmetric warfare, fighting enemies who are stronger, better equipped, and more numerous. I win by finding advantages they don't know exist and exploiting them before they can adapt. He pulled up Ryan's record. Captain Burke has the same specialty. He's trained in guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, and rapid adaptation to changing combat situations. Lisa's record appeared. Dr. Grant, you're not just a xenobiologist. You're a specialist in psychological warfare and behavioral manipulation. You can read people, understand their motivations, and influence their decisions. Nathan's record showed advanced degrees in theoretical physics and practical engineering. Dr. Cross can take any technology, no matter how advanced, and figure out how it works. Then he can replicate it with whatever materials are available. Finally, Amy's record. Colonel Peterson runs Earth's intelligence network. She knows everything about everyone, and she's an expert in deception and misdirection. We're not diplomats, Lisa said slowly. We're an asymmetric warfare team disguised as diplomats. Exactly, Jake confirmed. Earth Command didn't send us here to negotiate. They sent us here to win. Amy pulled up the final set of files. Our colonies aren't random settlements. They're strategic positions. Each one controls a key resource or location. Some are military outposts disguised as civilian operations. Others are intelligence-gathering stations. A few are experimental weapons facilities. Nathan was studying the technical data. We've been reverse engineering alien technology for decades, not copying it but understanding the principles behind it. Then we adapt those principles to human engineering. We can't build a Dyson ring like the architects, Nathan explained, but we can build smaller, more efficient versions. We can't manipulate time like the Sovereign Assembly, but we understand how their technology works now. Ryan pulled up military readiness reports. Earth has 17 colonies. But we also have 43 hidden installations throughout the galaxy, sensor networks, supply depots, emergency bases. If we had to, we could wage a guerrilla campaign that would last centuries. We're not going to fight them, Jake said. Fighting them would be stupid. They're stronger than us in every direct confrontation. Then what are we going to do? Lisa asked. Jake smiled. We're going to show them something they've never seen before. Something they can't understand because they've been the dominant powers for so long they've forgotten what it's like to adapt. He pulled up the mission plan that Earth Command had sent. It was brilliant in its simplicity. The 5 races have shown us their greatest strengths, Jake explained. The Valorians showed destruction. The Architects showed creation. The Luminar showed consciousness. The Keth showed adaptation. The Sovereign showed time manipulation. Each one is supreme in their specialty, he continued. But that's their weakness. They've specialized for millions of years. They've perfected one thing at the cost of everything else. Nathan understood first. Humans are generalists. We're not the best at anything, but we're decent at everything. Better than decent, Amy said. We're adaptable. We learn from every source. We combine different approaches. We improvise. Lisa pulled up comparative data. The 5 races competed with each other for millions of years. Each one developed their specialty to counter the others. The Valorians built weapons to fight the Architects' constructions. The Luminar developed consciousness manipulation to counter the Keth hive mind. They've been locked in this balance for eons. And then humanity arrives, Ryan said, with no specialty at all. We don't fit their paradigm. They don't know how to classify us. Jake nodded. Tomorrow is day 6. On day 7, we have to give our answer. But before that, we're going to do something the 5 races won't expect. What's that? Lisa asked. We're going to show them what humanity brings to the galaxy. Not superior weapons, not ancient technology, something more valuable than any of their specialties. He pulled up the final file. It contained a simple plan, audacious in its scope. We're going to take samples of their technology, Jake explained. The Valorians gave us a crystal shard from their armor. The Architects provided nanomaterial samples. The Luminar offered energy crystals. The Keth shared biological samples. The Sovereign gave us a temporal stabilizer. They gave us these as gifts during the summit, Amy said, showing off, expecting us to be amazed and study them for years. Nathan was already smiling. We're going to integrate them, all 5 technologies, in less than a day. That's impossible, Lisa said. These are technologies from 5 completely different paradigms. They shouldn't be compatible. They're not compatible, Jake agreed. For them. But humans have always been good at making incompatible things work together. We don't think. Day 6 began with activity aboard the Horizon's Edge that the 5 races couldn't see. The stealth ship Amy had mentioned docked quietly, transferring personnel and equipment. 20 specialists from Earth moved through the corridors, each one an expert in their field. They had 6 hours to achieve what should take years. Nathan Cross stood in the engineering bay, surrounded by the samples the 5 races had provided. The Valorian crystal shard glowed with inner light. The architect nanomaterials shifted and flowed in their container. The luminar energy crystal pulsed with contained power. The Keth biological sample was alive, adapting to its environment. The sovereign temporal stabilizer seemed to exist in multiple times at once. These shouldn't work together, said Dr. Karen White, a materials scientist from Earth. She was examining the Valorian crystal under magnification. The energy signatures are completely incompatible. That's why the 5 races never tried to combine their technologies, Nathan replied. They think in terms of purity. Each race perfected their specialty by rejecting other approaches. But humans don't think that way, added Dr. Paul Martinez, an engineer specializing in integrated systems. We've always been about making different things work together. Our entire technological history is built on combining ideas from different sources. Nathan pulled up a holographic workspace. Let's start with the basics. We're not trying to perfectly integrate these technologies. We're trying to create a functional prototype that demonstrates the principle. The team worked through the morning. The Valorian crystal was the first challenge. It generated enormous amounts of energy, but in a form that destroyed most materials it touched. Karen suggested using the architect nanomaterials as a buffer layer. The nanomaterials could adapt their structure to contain the energy. It's working, she said as the nanomaterials wrapped around the crystal. The materials are reshaping themselves to channel the energy safely. Paul integrated the luminar energy crystal next. It provided a different kind of power, something that affected the quantum state of matter itself. Combined with the Valorian crystal's raw energy and the architect material's adaptability, they had the foundation of an energy system unlike anything in the galaxy. The Keth biological sample was trickier. It kept trying to adapt to consume the other materials, but Nathan realized that was the point. He let it adapt but guided the adaptation. The Keth sample became a biological computer, processing information and adjusting the system in real time. Finally, the sovereign temporal stabilizer. It was the most complex piece. Time manipulation required precise control and enormous energy. But with the combined power of the Valorian and luminar crystals, controlled by the Keth biological processor, and contained in architect materials, it became possible. By mid-afternoon, they had a working prototype. It was crude, unstable, and would probably only function for a few hours. But it worked. 5 incompatible technologies integrated into a single device. What does it do? Karen asked. Nathan smiled. Everything and nothing. It's not meant to be practical. It's meant to be possible. Meanwhile, in the council chamber, Jake had requested to address the assembly. The 5 races gathered, expecting to hear Earth's decision. Instead, Jake asked for permission to demonstrate something. The war prime of the Valorians was impatient. You have 1 day remaining. What could you possibly show us that would change the situation? Perspective, Jake said simply. May I proceed? The 5 races consulted briefly and agreed. They were curious about what the primitive humans thought they could demonstrate. Lisa, Ryan, and Amy stood with Jake at the center of the chamber. A small platform had been set up with equipment. Nathan and his team brought in the prototype, carefully shielded in a containment field. For 5 days you have shown us your power, Jake began. His voice was calm and clear. Each of you demonstrated mastery over a different aspect of reality. Your specializations are the result of millions of years of development. We acknowledge that Earth cannot match any of you in your specialties. He continued. The Valorians will always be superior warriors. The architects will always build greater structures. The Luminar will always see further into time. The Keth will always adapt faster. The Sovereign will always command greater temporal control. The 5 races seemed satisfied by this admission. The War Prime nodded. The Architect Collective flowed contentedly. The Luminar's energy patterns stabilized. However, Jake said, and the single word carried weight, humanity offers something different, not superiority in any one area, but the ability to work across all areas. Nathan stepped forward and deactivated the containment field. The prototype sat on the platform, A strange combination of crystal, flowing metal, glowing energy, living tissue, and something that hurt to look at directly. What is that? The Keith representative clicked. This is a prototype integration device, Nathan explained. It combines technology samples from all 5 of your civilizations. The Valorian crystal provides primary power. The Architect nanomaterials provide structural containment and adaptation. The Luminar crystal provides quantum state manipulation. The Keth biological processor provides real-time adjustment and control. The Sovereign temporal stabilizer provides temporal coherence. The chamber fell silent. The builder mind of the Architect collective flowed forward to examine the device more closely. This is impossible. These technologies are fundamentally incompatible. They are incompatible within your individual paradigms, Lisa said, stepping forward. Each of your races spent millions of years perfecting your specialty. In doing so, you rejected other approaches as inferior or irrelevant. You can't imagine combining your technology with others because it would compromise the purity of your systems. But humans don't have millions of years of specialization, she continued. We have barely 300 years of industrial technology. We never developed the idea that there's only one correct approach to any problem. We've always combined different ideas, different methods, different technologies. Ryan activated the prototype. It hummed to life, energy flowing through its crystalline core, nanomaterial shifting and adjusting, biological components processing data, temporal fields stabilizing the entire structure. It held together for 30 seconds before overloading and shutting down safely. 30 seconds, the Sovereign Assembly's representative said. Impressive for a first attempt, but hardly practical. You're right, Jake agreed. This device is crude and unstable, but we built it in 6 hours. 6 hours to integrate 5 technologies that you've kept separate for millions of years. Give us 6 months and we'll build a stable version. Give us 6 years and we'll improve on it. More importantly, Amy added, we did this with samples you gave us as gifts. Tiny pieces of your technology. Imagine what we could achieve with full cooperation and shared knowledge. Nathan brought up holographic displays showing the mathematics behind the integration. The principles are sound. Each technology provides a function that supports the others. The Valorian energy powers the system. The Architect materials contain and channel it. The Luminar crystal provides the quantum bridge between different states. The Keth processor manages the complexity. The Sovereign stabilizer keeps everything synchronized in time. This is why humanity should not choose a patron race, Jake said clearly. Because we don't think in terms of choosing one approach over others. We think in terms of combining approaches to create something new. The Luminar's voice carried anger. You dare suggest that your chaotic methods are superior to our refined specializations? Not superior, Lisa said carefully. Complementary. Your specializations are incredible achievements, but there are also limitations. You've optimized for one solution and excluded others. Humanity hasn't optimized for anything yet. We're still learning, still experimenting, still combining ideas. You speak of inexperience as if it's a strength, the Keth representative said. It is, Ryan replied, because it means we haven't committed to any single path. We can learn from all of you. Take the best of what each race offers. Combine it in new ways. We're not trying to match your specializations. We're trying to synthesize them. Jake pulled up another display. For 5 million years, your 5 civilizations have competed with each other. Each one developed their specialty partially in response to the others. You've been locked in balance, unable to truly cooperate because your paradigms are too different. Humanity can be the bridge, he continued. We understand all of your approaches because we haven't committed to any single one. We can facilitate cooperation between your civilizations. We can help you share knowledge and technology in ways you never considered. And what do you gain from this? The War Prime demanded survival, Jake said honestly, and the opportunity to contribute to galactic civilization. We're not asking to dominate or rule. We're asking to participate, to learn from you, to share what we discover, to be partners instead of subjects. Amy activated a final display showing Earth's proposal. We suggest a new relationship. Instead of protectorate status, we propose collaborative development agreements with all 5 races. Humanity will share our methods of integration and synthesis. You will share your specialized knowledge. Together we can achieve things none of us could alone. Day 7 arrived with tension thick enough to cut. Jake had barely slept again, but he felt alert. Everything came down to the next few hours. The 5 races would either accept humanity's proposal or force a confrontation. Either way, the galaxy would change today. The council chamber was crowded. Representatives from dozens of smaller civilizations had arrived overnight. Word had spread about Earth's proposal. Many species lived under the protection or control of the 5 dominant races. They wanted to see how humanity's challenge would resolve. Jake led his team to their designated area. Amy had received overnight reports from Earth Command. Military forces were on standby, not to fight the 5 races, which would be suicide, but to execute contingency plans if things went wrong. Ryan knew the details. Lisa and Nathan did not. Sometimes ignorance helped maintain calm. The 5 races entered together, which was unusual. Normally they maintained separation even in the council chamber. Their unity suggested they had reached some consensus. Whether that consensus favored humanity remained to be seen. The War Prime of the Valorians spoke first. "We have discussed your proposal extensively. Each of our civilizations has concerns and questions. But before we address those, there is something we wish to see." Jake felt a spike of adrenaline. "What would you like to see?" "A practical demonstration," the Architect Collective said. "You showed us a prototype that functioned for 30 seconds. We wish to see if your claims of adaptability and synthesis are more than words." The Luminar's energy pattern swirled. A distress signal has been detected in a nearby system. The colony world is under attack by raiders. 30 ships. Heavy weapons. The colony's defenses are failing. "We could resolve this situation easily," the Keth representative stated. "Any one of us could destroy the raiders or evacuate the colony. But we propose that humanity respond instead." The Sovereign Assembly's representative gestured, and a holographic display appeared showing the situation. The colony world had about 50,000 inhabitants of various species. The raider fleet surrounded the planet, bombarding defensive installations and landing ground forces. By the display's calculations, the colony had maybe 4 hours before defenses collapsed completely. "This is a test," Jake said quietly. "Yes," the War Prime confirmed. "You claim humanity's strength is adaptability and synthesis. Prove it. Save that colony. Defeat or drive off the raiders. Do it with your single ship and your untested methods. Show us that your approach has practical value." Lisa leaned close to Jake. "This is impossible. 1 ship against 30. Even with the prototype technology, we don't have the weapons or shields to fight that many raiders." "Then we don't fight them," Jake said. He stood and addressed the council. "We accept the challenge, but we do it our way. No restrictions on methods?" "No restrictions," the 5 races agreed. "Save the colony however you can." Amy was already accessing intelligence data on the raider group. They're a confederation of 6 different species. Not a unified force, but a loose alliance. Command structure is decentralized. Each ship captain has significant autonomy. "That's our advantage," Ryan said, pulling up tactical displays. "They're not coordinated like a real military force." Nathan was working on the prototype. "I can get maybe 5 minutes of stable operation from this thing." "What do you need it to do?" "Surprise them," Jake said. "That's all? Just surprise them long enough for us to create an opening." The Horizon's Edge undocked from Nexus Station. The 5 races and assembled observers watched through quantum-linked feeds. Every decision, every action would be visible to thousands of beings. Success would validate humanity's claims. Failure would prove the 5 races right about humanity's place in the galaxy. The journey to the colony took 3 hours at maximum FTL speed. Jake used that time to plan with his crew. They couldn't win through superior firepower. They couldn't match the raiders' numbers. They had to be smarter, faster, and more unpredictable. "What do we know about these raiders?" Lisa asked Amy. "They're opportunists. They avoid real military forces. They target colonies with weak defenses. Their ships are older models, heavily modified but not state-of-the-art. They make money by stealing resources and ransoming captives. So they're motivated by profit, not ideology," Lisa said. "That means they can be negotiated with or scared off." "The lead ship is captained by someone called Kravik," Amy continued. "He's from a species called the Drell. Reputation as a tactical coward. He only fights when he's certain of victory." Jake smiled. "Then we make him uncertain." The Horizon's Edge dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system. Immediately, sensors picked up the raider fleet. 30 ships of various sizes, all armed, all dangerous. The colony below was sending desperate distress signals. "They've detected us," Ryan reported. 6 ships breaking off to intercept. They think we're a rescue vessel. Easy prey. Let them think that, Jake said. Nathan, is the prototype ready? As ready as it'll ever be. 5 minutes maximum before cascade failure. Lisa, open a channel to the colony. Let them know help has arrived. Jake, we're one ship, Lisa protested. We can't promise them anything. We can promise them hope. Do it. Lisa opened the channel. A frightened alien face appeared on screen. This is Colony Administrator Vren. Please, we need immediate evacuation. The raiders will break through our defenses within hours. Administrator Vren, this is Commander Jake Morrison of Earth. We're here to help. Stay calm and prepare your people. This situation is about to change. The 6 raider ships approached rapidly, their weapons charged, ready to destroy or disable the horizon's edge. In the council chamber back at Nexus Station, observers held their breath. This seemed like suicide. Sir, they're hailing us, Ryan said, demanding our surrender. Put them through, Jake said calmly. A scarred face appeared on screen. Unknown vessel, power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resist and we will destroy you. I don't think so, Jake said pleasantly. Nathan, activate the prototype. The integration device came online. Energy from the Valorian crystal surged through the ship's systems. Architect nanomaterials reshaped hull plating on the fly. The Luminar quantum crystal destabilized the raiders' targeting sensors. The Keth biological processor adapted their shields to the raiders' weapon frequencies. The Sovereign temporal stabilizer gave them a split-second preview of incoming fire. For 5 minutes, the horizon's edge became something unprecedented in the galaxy. Not stronger than a Valorian warship. Not more adaptable than a Keth vessel. Not more advanced than any single race could build. But something unique. A synthesis of different strengths working together. The 6 raider ships fired. The horizon's edge dodged with impossible precision. The temporal stabilizer giving them just enough warning. Return fire targeted not to destroy but to disable. Communications arrays shorted out. Engine systems destabilized. Weapons overloaded. In 3 minutes, all 6 ships were drifting, damaged but not destroyed. Their crews were alive but helpless. What just happened? The raider captain stammered over the emergency channel. A demonstration, Jake said. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to send a message to Kravik. Tell him that the colony is under the protection of something new, something he can't predict or counter. Tell him to leave now or face consequences. He won't listen. He has 30 ships. He has 24 ships now, Ryan corrected, and we just disabled 6 in 3 minutes. Tell him to do the math. The message was sent. Jake used the brief time before response to enact the next phase of his plan. Amy, access the Raider Fleet's communication network. Find me ships commanded by the species the Drell have conquered or enslaved. Amy's fingers flew across her console. 4 ships match that profile. Crews are non-Drell. Historical data suggests they were forced into the Raider Confederation. Lisa, open channels to those 4 ships. Private channels their commanders won't know about. Lisa worked quickly, exploiting the confusion in the Raider fleet. 4 separate communication windows opened. 4 different alien faces appeared, all looking confused. I am Commander Jake Morrison of Earth, Jake said to all 4 simultaneously. Your fleet is about to be destroyed. But you don't have to go down with them. I know you're not here by choice. I'm offering you a way out. One of the captains, a reptilian creature, hissed. What choice? Kravik will kill us if we betray him. Kravik is about to have bigger problems. Here's what I propose. You break off from the fleet. You help us disable the other raiders. In exchange, Earth guarantees your freedom and safe passage. You'll be considered allies, not enemies. Why should we trust you? Another captain asked. Because in the next few minutes you're going to see what happens to people who fight us. And you're going to realize you'd rather be on our side. The prototype was failing. Nathan called out warnings as systems began to cascade. 30 seconds, Commander. Deactivate it, Jake ordered. We don't need it anymore. The enhanced abilities faded. The horizon's edge was just a regular ship again. But the psychological impact had been made. The Raider fleet was in disarray. 6 ships disabled, 4 ships receiving secret offers, and Kravik was trying to figure out what he faced. Sir, Kravik is hailing us, Ryan said. The Drell commander appeared on screen. His face was a mixture of anger and calculation. What are you? What kind of ship is that?